Okay, Stygian Onslaught Fearless. It's version 6.5 right now and Linnea just came out. So, the first boss requires Geo. But not only do you need Geo, the Moongecko can also apply a damage debuff to you. And the damage debuff seems pretty significant. Like, before I read the description of the boss, I was just fighting it normally with the same exact team. But I was skipping Linnea's burst in order to rotate back to ZIBAI faster. After you break the anchor, the Moongecko is gonna wake up and do this roaring animation, I guess. That's when the Moongecko applies the Radiant Cocoon debuff on all of your characters. You can look at your character's HP bar and there should be a red circle if they have a debuff. Like, for example, even though my Bina's off field, if you look at her HP bar on the right, she still has that red circle debuff on her. So Bina's gonna be doing reduced damage to the boss until she gets her HP back to 100%, then the debuff wears off. So for the Moongecko, you need Geo and you need healing. Surprise! All I'm gonna say is even with Linnea, I struggled with this boss. It was not easy. You gotta really try to remove the Radiant Cocoon debuff, or else you're gonna end up like me when I was first trying this boss. Skipped out on the healing, causing all my characters to have the damage debuff. So with those 2 points out of the way, the only other thing you gotta really worry about is just rotating between your characters as fast as you can. But personally, I'd say the trickiest part for me was trying to funnel energy into Linnea. Since her energy recharge was pretty low, I really needed the healing to remove the damage debuff. I was able to squeeze a little more energy into Linnea by funneling the energy particles Bina makes over to Linnea. So I was just praying Linnea's burst would be ready by the time I broke the first anchor. Because as long as I can pop Linnea's burst as the Moongecko is applying the debuff to my team, all my characters, for the most part, would get their damage debuffs removed. But as you can see with this run, my Bina basically had the debuff on for the majority of the fight. Okay, boss number 2 is the Papilla. This boss favors Natlan characters. So besides the obnoxious elemental shield aka ward, this boss will randomly transform into other bosses. And one of the bosses it turned into always griefed my run. It'll appear later in this attempt, but it's the one boss that turns into like a hand and scissors, but it does 3 consecutive attacks to you. And if you get hit by any of those 3 attacks, you get launched, and potentially get hit by the other 2 attacks, causing you to get launched again. And if the boss misses, it goes to the other side of the map most of the time. Here's the 3-hit attack I was talking about. Anyways, when I was first attempting this boss, I was doing the normal Skirk team rotation, where I activate Skirk's skill, spam a bunch of normal attacks, using Skirk's burst to absorb the rifts, and then spamming Skirk's normal and charge attack on the shield like a madman. I was trying that for a while, but I could only get the boss's HP down to like 25%. So I switched to on-field sit lolly during the shield part, at least. I felt like I wasn't fighting the boss properly, but I was able to kill it, so I'll take it. What I did was I would hold skill on Skirk to prep her big burst attack, try to make sure I pop my other character's skills whenever they're ready, and then immediately swap back to sit lolly to use her skill, her burst, and then spam normal attacks until the shield gets close to breaking. One annoying thing about the shield is that you're basically not doing damage to the boss while the shield is up, and this causes Favonius weapons to not activate unless the shield is down. So you'll see me swapping between Farina and Escoffier every now and then, trying to get as much energy as I can into them. Then I just stay on sit lolly until the boss's shield is about to break, swap to Skirk to give her Thrilling Tales buff, and then swap to Farina and Escoffier in order to buff Skirk before swapping back to her and using her burst and then skill, and then normal attacking like crazy. Finally, the Herra, the final boss. If you have lunar reactions, then the Herra is really easy, I'd say. I just know if you don't use lunar reactions, you gotta spam a bunch of physical attacks to try to cheese the shield build-up phase, whatever it's called. Or you can intentionally make the boss a specific element and just have a DPS that doesn't match that element. The rotation I used for this run was pretty simple. I just used Nefer's skill first in order to generate some particles and swap to Aino so that she catches the particles and it's just enough to fill her burst. Then apply Nahida's skill, swap to Sucrose, use her skill to activate the EM buff for the team, then finally swap to Nefer and unleash her damage until she runs out of charge attacks. The only thing I really had to worry about for this boss was just not taking damage because I had no healers and dash cancelling all of Nefer's charge attacks properly. Towards the end I started messing up a little bit on the dash cancels, but I was still able to kill the boss at least. When playing Nefer without Bina, you have way less charge attacks to work with, so Nefer's long burst animation actually works out for this team. Since in this run, as you can see, Nefer's burst usually comes back right as I run out of Verdant Dews. And Verdant Dews are the 3 moon icons next of Nefer which allow her to do her enhanced charge attacks. You get more Verdant Dew by triggering Lunar Boom, and the moment I activate Nefer's burst gives me just enough time to let one more Verdant Dew generate and allow Nefer to do her final charge attack in the rotation. And that wraps up the tips I wanted to share for this Stygian Onslaught on Fearless difficulty. So for the Moongecko, you need Geo element and healing. Bring a lot of elemental damage to the Papilla boss. If you got any of the Natline characters, their Night Soul damage can break the shield faster. And for the Herra, if you have lunar reactions, you're basically just lining up your rotation and making sure that your lunar reaction attacks hit the boss during the charging phase. Recently, I've been able to clear Fearless for the past Stygian Onslaughts so far, but I usually gotta restart a lot, swapping gear among my characters, switching my rotation, or sometimes just changing to a whole different team. If you're curious about the Skirk or Nefer combos I used, I'll link some tutorial videos down in the video description. Thanks for watching, I'll see you later then.